I'm Barley Dunn from the East Hampton Shellfish Hatchery and South Fork Sea Farmers. I'm here at the 3 Mile Harbor Oyster Garden. I'm here to talk to you about how to grow these 4-month-old baby oysters up to this high-quality raw bar oyster for you to take home and enjoy anytime you want. So what we're going to talk about today is getting new seed, starting the oyster gardening season with brand new baby oyster seed. So we have them growing in our nursery system. So these were spawned back in about February, so they're about 4 months old. And these are the initial seed that growers will get. They look exactly like the big oyster you eat on your raw bar. They're just a tiny version of it. So one of the first things we have to do, obviously, is I have this handful here, and I want to give about 900 of these to each gardener. So the question is, how do we go about counting them? So I have this cup here, which I know is 250 milliliters, and I'm going to fill the cup with the oyster seed. So I dumped out my 250 milliliter cup of oysters onto the tray, gather them all up into one pile. So I'm going to split it down to a countable number to represent a 16th. Take a pitcher, fill it with water. I've got my tweezers, and I'm going to start counting this pile. Instead of making you suffer through me counting, I counted this yesterday, and there were about 200 oysters in that 16th of the cup. So we do the math, 12.8 oysters in every milliliter of the cup. So I want to give each new gardener 900 of these oysters. So if I fill this cup to this level, 70.3 milliliters is 900 oysters. Very deceiving. So now that we've counted these oysters out, we're going to stock them into the mesh bags, and I'll show you how to do that and get them growing in your cages. We're going to take that and put it into this small mesh, 2mm mesh bag. Any larger mesh and we'd have problems with oysters growing into the mesh, so we know that this mesh size is the right mesh for this oyster. So we literally dump the oysters in, close up the bag, fold over a nice flap, and we have these pieces of PVC pipe with a slit up the middle. Work that on there. So that's that. That's 900 oysters in a 2mm mesh bag. We slide that into our oyster grow cage and let it grow. 3 weeks from now, we'll come back to do our oyster maintenance. Okay, so it's 3 weeks later. You're going to take that oyster bag out of the cage, and then we're going to size grade it so we can figure out which of those oysters can go into a larger mesh bag and which ones will stay behind in the 2mm bag. This is our 5/16 inch mesh. We're going to start with that one. Take our oysters. In this case, because of the time of year, I don't actually have oysters that we would really sieve through this mesh size. I've got some 1-year-olds here, just as an example. Shake the sieve around, move those oysters around. You take the oysters that were retained on the mesh, dump them into a separate tote. So now you have stuff that fell through the 5/16 mesh, which we'll call less than 5/16, and stuff that was retained on the 5/16 mesh, which we'll call 5/16. So the stuff that was retained, the 5/16, can go in a 4mm mesh bag. The stuff that fell through stays in a 2mm bag. So the reason why you want to size grade your oysters is to separate the fast growers from the slow growers, because those fast growers can outcompete the slow growers for food. It also allows you to put your oysters in the largest mesh possible for that size oyster. That way they'll get the most water flow, you'll get your oysters to harvest size quicker, and you'll be able to enjoy them that much sooner.